Okay, this morning I've headed down to Missouri City. There is Houston Agent Magazine. It's a one-day conference just kind of on some of the major things that are going on in our industry right now. The road I'm driving on right now is 288. So over the past few years, they have been turning this into a toll road. So it's not yet operational, but it's something that's in the works. What's kind of crazy is the amount of development that has occurred along 288 over the past few years. So I'm driving south on there right now, but coming from Houston, you've got a lot of development on 288. Near like Alameda City Park, and then coming down further south, you got like Pomona, Rodeo Palms, and a ton, Sedona Lakes, a ton of development. So it's been kind of crazy to see how much has occurred over the past few years down here away from the city. But one thing that's great about 288 now is it gives you quick access to like the medical center and downtown. And then obviously once it becomes a toll road, there'll be more lanes and all that. So, pretty interesting.
What could we have done better this past week? And they make that note and they make sure the entire team knows. So if it was, we were out still walking the dog, we weren't sure if the showing was over, it would have been great if you had told us. They make sure that they make the correction so that by the time the end of the transaction is there, every bit of feedback that they've taken in, they've made the adjustments. So you're earning that 5 stars and the referrals that come along with it. So that would be my piece of advice to you.
We're having a hard time. I agree with your comment that economic expansions don't die of old age. There really is a trigger, and the trigger will not be housing. Okay, it was housing last time, the Great Recession, and that was overexuberance on loans that shouldn't have been available to a lot of people that should not have been coerced into, bad word, was builders, was not realtors, to buy a home and get into something they couldn't handle.
Ouch.
Ouch, sorry.
I like to say it was fraudulent lending. I want to blame the lenders, not the
All right,
builders.
it was totally fraudulent lending, without a doubt. But this time it will not be housing. We have not built too many homes. We don't have too much inventory. And there are really things we call the 4 L's of limited growth. First, there's land, laws, labor, and lending. There's a real shortage of desirable lots and land, and deals, even if it's desirable, they're not penciling out. I've worked on 505 market studies in Texas this year where we had to turn back our client and say, don't do this, your economics don't work out. And we don't ever write 5 a year, and we've done that already. Regulations have increased both the land development cost and the home building cycle and its cost. That gets in the way. Labor, not enough labor to go around, and banks have been very, very conservative about their lending to developers and builders post-Dodd-Frank. And that's really the environment that has caused us not to overdevelop, because we would have if we'd had a chance. We didn't have a chance this time, where we're being held back. So it won't be us, and we think that there will be a recession someday. It's not if, it's when. It will happen. And I want to quantify that for you. Our outlook is, contrast it, a national recession usually sheds, on average, 5% of the U.S. jobs. We believe the next recession will shed 1% of jobs.
To play off of what Tony had just said, Cole Vinker and RT Realogy has partnered with another company and built Catalyst, which is essentially an iBuyer program. What did the largest real estate company in the States see when it came to iBuyers that made them decide that instead of maybe going in the direction of partnering with or providing a software, which I know this is going to roll out to Better Home Buyers eventually as well as part of Realogy. What was it that the company saw that said we need to have this in our own pocket?
Okay, so first, I mean, the iBuyer concept is not new, right? When you think about iBuyers and where they came from, many, many moons ago, realtors were offering that, hey, if we can't sell your home, we're going to buy it, within a certain time frame, and it usually was a discounted value. So,
I mean, I think ERA, Ben and I talked about this earlier. I think ERA was doing it in the 70s and 80s.
So the iBuyer process has been around. It's just become more prevalent, right? And technology is taking it far, far greater. I mean, every agent in this room, including our own, can actually go out and solicit offers from all the other companies out there. Where we've partnered with HPA, which is Home Partners of America, is we want to keep the agent at the center of the transaction. We want them to govern and control the transaction, but also show that the realtor is the center and hub, because most of these folks will not sell. If you look at the actual statistics, there's probably going to be a 15% market share around iBuying process. So for us, by keeping the realtor in the center educated, one, it gives us a competitive advantage because the program is very different than the traditional iBuyer process. In our new program, we're going to give the customer sort of a leverage, right? They're going to have an opportunity to experience the iBuyer process and, go for the number one thing is market their home for the highest amount of value. So we're looking at giving them both, and at the same time, when we're working with builders, leveraging the relationship that we have and giving them sort of a contingency through another program that will allow them to still acquire the home that they want while they're going through an iBuyer process, removing some of those contingency sales, so to speak. So there's a couple of pieces to the puzzle, but we're launching, we're sort of, I say, an enhanced version this month. So it's going to be pretty exciting and it's going to be different. And the idea behind it is, again, I believe that agents getting on the table with their customer, talking about listings and how they can leverage technology tools to get them the maximum value is going to be better than any iBuyer program out there that can potentially buy their home at a discounted value.
We hear three themes emerge quite regularly. Speed, simplicity, and certainty. And we have to ask ourselves, is it speedy? No, it's not speedy. It takes 30-ish days to sell a house typically. Was it simple? No, it's not simple. It's actually really complicated. And frankly, the bigger one is the certainty. We have this process where you actually go through a home transaction where you actually don't know if you're going to get it or not. And you're not really 100% certain you're going to get it until the contingencies are actually waived and the lender says, yes, we're going to fund this transaction and we're going to move on. That's why we like cash buyers so much, because they are certain. And so one of the elements that plays into the iBuyer space is they're eliminating all three of those issues. It's insanely simple, it's very certain, and it's really quick. Or at least it can be quick. Sometimes it's 7 months, that's a whole other story. But sometimes they linger on for months. But that's really the vein that we're tapping into with this whole iBuyer space. And what I'm seeing is that the desire that we think for the iBuyer model, we originally assumed this was discount people or people that weren't price sensitive or were willing to take a haircut on the price because they wanted that speed or that certainty. And the actual data shows that the people actually using these services are not who you'd expect them to be. And they're actually not the demographic, the age, or the equity level you expect them to be. There are people that are actually prioritizing the convenience and are willing to actually take the haircut because the experience they went through last time was not a pleasant one and they don't want to repeat it. It's a market where this is a lot more robust and there's hundreds of these things per month. They're buying hundreds per month. They do put them back on the marketplace, and when they come back on the marketplace, they're vacant, normally lightly spruced, and technically priced about where they should be, which is great inventory. So in that regard, that's actually not a bad thing. There's really good inventory coming available. It's really easy to show.
Right. How many sales are actually happening?
A lot.
Yeah, there. I mean, we haven't seen it here, obviously, because we're an up-and-coming market. But yeah, I mean, I think they're already at 7 or 8% in Phoenix, correct?
I think it's higher than that.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're already a double-digit market share in.
There's a constant. Is there a desire to grow or a need to grow? I guess once you've started, it organically seems to take a life of its own, and yes, it will grow, and if you're successful, people do want to join you, and I think that's what I've seen, and certainly I'm always open to that, as long as it's a good person, it's a good fit, and it's someone that will work within our structure, and as you said, work within our culture, and personalities are extremely important.
Well, so what I'm hearing from all three of you, some common themes here. It's get to know the person. There may be different measurements you use, different tools and resources. Sometimes it's your gut. But as they're with you, try and grow with them. Try and figure out what are their goals, play to their strengths. Make sure that if it's important for them to maintain their own brand in some ways, for their own identity, that's something that you've done. But it's really grow with them, support them, get to know them, and keep it a two-way street. Fantastic.
I know you probably laugh a little bit, but we have our organizational charts done from now through 2036. We know every single year how many people we need to hit the numbers that we want to hit for the next, several years. And so we're hiring to that organizational chart instead of hiring out of desperation, because so many of us get to that spot where, oh my gosh, we need another person. Then you usually take any person that's available and you're hiring out of desperation. We'd much rather be purposeful in our hiring process. Our hiring process is just like anything else. It takes 6 to 8 weeks to join our organization. And most of the time, the people that join us don't have any real estate experience at all. We hire most of our people from corporate America and then bring them in and train them.
All right, just finished up at the Houston Agent Magazine Accelerate Summit Conference deal today. So just like a one-day conference, and they had a bunch of panels with different information on how to better serve your clients and different things to do. So started out the day with some stuff as far as like framing your value with clients. Talked about the disruption of iBuyers entering the market, and kind of all of the money that's being poured into the real estate industry and changing marketing and changing just the way we do business. And I think that a lot of people don't have a growth mindset and the thought of like all of the different ways in which you can benefit from all of these companies and money and advertising that's being spent, and ways in which you can innovate your business too, which I think is kind of crazy. Had some panels on teams and different ways teams are set up, things that people have learned while building their team, mistakes made, learning experiences, things like that. Tons of great information. So I'm really excited to share it with y'all.